Everything we thought would change, and this life will never be the same again. And just let go. Just let go. Rise together. We will rise.
Veganism is a way of living which seeks to exclude, as far as possible, all forms of exploitation of and cruelty to animals. This means avoiding meat, dairy, eggs, as well as products like leather and anything tested on animals. It entails far more than a change in diet and influences social identity. In order to understand this further and understand society's reaction to this, we could consider veganism a social deviance, resisting a social norm. This in turn can encompass the opposition masculinity has towards veganism. If eating meat is equated with masculine traits of strength and vitality, do vegan men threaten the concept of stoic and hegemonic masculinity?
So I was like a full carny, and then I just had this really mental dream, and I wasn't like, I must go vegan, but I just started thinking about not eating meat. And
what went on in it?
So I was like a kid, and we were like at this like French preschool that was also a petting zoo.
Right.
And we were all hanging out with these cool animals. And then one of the teachers was like, it's snack time, and we all just got knives out and just like killed all the animals we were playing with.
That definitely puts it in perspective.
There was just blood everywhere, and I woke up and I was like, wow, let's maybe not eat meat anymore. And then I just had a couple of conversations with a guy who was in my year at the time about the dairy industry, and I was like, that's really horrible. And then the next day I was like, I'll try being vegan for a bit.
Let's think about it. When I first got to uni, I met a couple of mates who were vegan themselves, and when I was very little, I was brought up as a vegetarian, and it wasn't until like midway through primary school that I started eating meat. So, and my dad and my stepmom, then and now, are effectively vegans just because they like cut out meat and cheese because they think it's unhealthy. So for different reasons than me, but I started having conversations with them, and I slowly realised that the only reason why you wouldn't go vegan is because you don't question it. Like you just are, and then you just have to try and stick with it. Like I can't see going back because there's just not a good enough reason.
I've been vegan since August, so eight months-ish.
Yeah.
So relative newbies. I went vegan because of the health reasons. Started doing a bit of research into how it could help acne, and I've always suffered with eczema, and within a month, I would say maybe 6 weeks, I have zero eczema whatsoever, and my acne completely cleared up.
It's a very difficult question to answer because there's many reasons. One reason, I think that it's not fair on the animals, and I think that idealistically it is much better, and I think that's quite a good thing overall. It's definitely difficult to interact certainly with different people and generations within society because they don't necessarily have the same understanding or concept, and I think that as our society as it is, we've learnt to understand different people and different things, but there's still many parts of it that doesn't move on, and I think
it's about it enough to be aware of what's happening in the meat industry, because there is deliberate ignorance created about the meat industry, and when people see through that and they still won't go, it's like, come on. I don't know, I don't like selfishness in people, and I think it's a very selfish thing to do.
They don't understand, and so you explain to them why.
Yeah.
And then they're like, they look at you as if all the information you've told them, you hadn't told them. Because they just don't understand that, it's a bit like if you put, the way I like to look at it is that obviously you treat everyone and everything how you would like to be treated.
Yeah.
And I think that we should do the same for animals.
It's a huge consumer market. And the amount of money that would be lost if everyone went vegan for, ironically, everything from pharmaceuticals, healthcare. even clothing
Fashion.
industries, everything.
Yeah.
You're effectively dealing with something that can't protect itself, and how you deal with things that can't protect themselves from you defines like a big part of who you are.
There is a clear distinction between animal welfare and animal liberation, bigger cages versus empty cages. As philosopher Tom Regan puts it, merely to reform absolute injustice is to prolong injustice. Animal rights demands the same answer: abolition. Veganism therefore actively resists the social norm of eating meat. As a society, the general consensus remains that this is healthy, normal, and even expected. We should all eat and enjoy it. Furthermore, eating meat allows one to be seen as masculine, and the avoidance of meat equates to feminine. Society seems to have decided that veganism means being soft and effeminate. This doesn't make sense. Masculinity doesn't come in the form of bacon, butter, or burgers, yet out of 1 million Americans that are vegan, 79% are women. But why is this? Is it a hunter-gatherer complex, or is it the outdated notion that men can't be emotional? Not only this, but recently there has been a surge in the popularity of a vegan diet, with celebrities such as Ellen DeGeneres, Miley Cyrus, and more recently Gordon Ramsay openly talking about it. Given the recent prominence of vegan celebrities, does this make the ethical practice of veganism more accessible?
We were talking about the other day, it sort of ties into one's view on like where you sort of sit in society. Like we were talking about it like you can't do everything, so you have to draw a line somewhere, and it's like per person to decide where they want to put it.
And I think like because it's an argument again. Well, when people often say it about politics, where it's like there's the assumption that because you can't do everything, you shouldn't do anything. It's like, well, no, something is always better than nothing. So even if, sometimes I'll buy a deodorant or something that I know probably somewhere up the line has had some shady goings on, that's still better than me just being like, fuck it, I'm going to have a steak. Like, more just indifferent to the whole traditional masculinity anyway. Like, I don't.
Yeah, there's sort of the new wave, sort of like hipster masculinity, which accepts it, which is weird.
Like men being less sensitive, and the fact that being vegan instantly means suggests you're more sensitive because you've actually taken the time to think about the wider sphere of your existence.
And there's an element of caring about something to the point of self-sacrifice, which people assume is a bigger sacrifice than it is. But
it's not. Yeah,
but it is ultimately sacrificing part of your life for something else. And I feel like the stereotypical like uber masculine archetype needs to come across as very like impenetrable. Like
that a lot of people naturally go along with, even if some people cared about the animals. They're like, yes, but it's been part of the heritage. It goes back to, I suppose, in a way, sort of the primeval person where you have to go and get bacon. You know what I mean?
Bacon.
Relative.
Esteem and sort of the male suicides being brought into the public eye a lot more, and gym being a big thing, and body image for men especially, is just to stop eating, to stop going to the gym and bulking up on these steroids and all these products that all contain whey. All of them contain whey protein. It's like you're not a man if you don't eat steak, and it is like being a bit soft. But I do have a mate that's just gone vegan, and he is big, and he was spurred on by a YouTuber who's a gym buff and completely plant-based vegan.
Celebrities going vegan and just having the conversation or making the conversation happen. I'm not particularly into the whole celebrity thing, like be if you want to be, but I still accept that it's a very healthy message to be spreading if you're going to be spreading it.
I think it's the thing as well, like the celebrity thing's really helpful because people will blindly follow what celebrities do sometimes, which is great if it's veganism.
It shows people who are seen in the media and they're going that way and they're doing that sort of thing, and I think that's a good thing.
It's been years back, before I was born anyway, and she said it tasted like cardboard, whereas I've not had a single meal or anything that's tasted crap. I do like my food a lot. If I was going to eat something, I want it to taste good. So it's in all the supermarkets. There's always stuff in the free from section. There's even the vegan cheeses started popping up in like Sainsbury's and Morrison's Co-op and things. It's there. You know, it's quite easy and it's not expensive. My weekly shop is 20 quid.
It's seen as like this weird. It is seen as an extreme dietary change, like by people.
By less people, but still, definitely that's.
Oh yeah, I'd say the majority of people would still see it as an extreme change. They'd be like, "Oh, I could go vegetarian." That's the option. They'll say, like, I could go vegetarian, I won't go vegan because it's too extreme.
Labelled as an extreme diet by many, changing to a vegan diet can in fact save over 1,000 animals a year from needless slaughter. Is this really extreme? Let's take a look at what activist Earthling Ed has to say.
Around 4 years ago, May 2014, I came across this story in the news. It was in the BBC News. It was about a truck carrying 7,000 chickens crashing just off the M62 near Manchester. And it really disturbed me, this story, because the journalist was talking about how hundreds of these animals had died on impact. In fact, I think in total it was 1,500 of the birds died on the impact alone. But what disturbed me even more was that there were hundreds more of them that were alive, but they were mutilated. They had broken bones and broken wings. Their faces were literally hanging off, and I saw pictures of it. Their faces were hanging off, their combs were hanging off, their beaks were hanging off, and they were alive, and they were suffering, and they were in pain. And I remember reading this article and thinking how horrible it must be for these animals, what terrible suffering they must be enduring. But at that very moment, it dawned on me that in my fridge, there was chicken breasts and chicken thighs and yesterday's KFC.
If not do it for yourself, do it for the future and what possibly might be. Because as a species, we should be trying to do the best thing, not just for ourselves, but for others as well. And that would include animals. But the key is that you would probably better yourself if you didn't have this, because, again, if we went back to the conspiracy theory stuff, it's sort of it frees you in a sense. So, in a way, become more free, and that's why I would say that people should do it.
I suffered with anorexia bulimia for about a decade, and as soon as I made a decision to go vegan, as much as I'd had about a year and a half's worth of recovery before that, the thoughts of acting out on junk and crap and or not acting out, as the case may be, the minute I went vegan, those thoughts didn't go, but they were eased off by 99%. Like there's never been a day where I wanted to binge, and even if I do want to have a little bit more, I know what I'm eating is good for my body. So the guilt and shame that the eating disorder would give me after I'd eaten something, that's completely gone now. Like, why didn't I do it 10 years ago?
Yeah.
Like a whole new human being with a whole new self-esteem and confidence level. So that's it, yeah.
I was reading about a Holocaust survivor who decided to fight for animal rights, and I was like, you've definitely got better, well, not better, but you've definitely got big fights to have. And he just started talking about how it's how you choose to treat something that can't defend itself from you. Like, it's all the same fight. It's all how you view yourself above things that you definitely shouldn't just because you can. And just the way that he phrased it, just like the simple phrase, like, it's how you treat something that can't defend yourself. That kind of stuck with me.
Yeah, don't beat yourself up too much. Like, it's don't necessarily expect to be like perfect vegan overnight. Like, cut out, eat more vegetarian meals and then eat more vegan meals, and if you slip up every now and then, it's fine, because again, nobody's going to be perfect. You're just going to do little bits here and there, and just like, also I'd say talk to people. Like, I've wavered from time to time, and I know you have, but like, just talk to people, because actually having conversations and being around other people who are like vegans or trying to do the same thing is so helpful.
Going vegan is a learning curve. It takes both courage and curiosity, but it's a learning curve that more than 3.5 million of UK residents are adapting to in a bid to save animals and our environment.